the special board meeting of the Meridian Technology Board of Education. And we need to call the roll, Shalina, to establish a quorum.
Dr. Randy Kellogg, Dr. Joe Williams,
Here.
Miss Lori Jansen,
Here.
Miss Sherry Honeycutt,
Here.
Mr. Gary Johnson.
Here.
With 4 members present, we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Shalina. Appreciate that. And welcome to all of you who are watching tonight. We're glad you're watching our meeting via Zoom, and hope that you learned something about Meridian Tech tonight. Do we have any introductions of those present that we need to take care of?
Okay, I just might mention that we have Matt Trumbull, who is with Meridian Technology Center with us, as well as Dana Wallace, and they're both with us live on Zoom. So they're both staff members here at Meridian.
Okay, item number 3 on the agenda, reports, presentations, and comments from the audience for board policy. Do we have any of those?
We do not, but I just now noticed we don't have the flag salute listed on the board agenda that I can see. So if you don't mind, if we could do that at this time. And Dr. Williams, do you mind leading us in the flag salute? And you're muted, Dr. Williams.
Okay, please join me as we say the Pledge of Allegiance to the greatest flag in the world, and a flag that's facing a lot of difficulties right now. And let's do our best to get through this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Item number 4 on the agenda tonight is the superintendent report and any anticipated discussion by the board and staff. Dr. Major, would you like to help us with that?
I would. I'd like to provide some updates, kind of where we are at this point in time. We are maintaining a regular work schedule for our 12-month employees. So starting June 1st, we have all of our employees back on campus. We are still maintaining kind of a locked, we're not open to the public. We don't have any of the outside doors of the gates on Sanger open, but we are serving students by appointment. And so we've had some students, for instance, in phlebotomy that needed to come in and finish some of their coursework and their sticks in order to meet their certification. So they've scheduled to come in. We've had some welding students in preparing for certification as well, and actually testing. We also have had some of our health programs, rad tech and nursing students back on campus. And so we are phasing into a more normalized schedule, which will begin on June 15th. And that's when we'll officially kind of be open to the public to come in and get information about courses. We have resumed some of our short-term programs. We're still doing as many of those via distance as we can. But for those that we've had to meet in person, we've been practicing the social distancing. So we have masks and hand sanitizer available throughout the facility. I might note that when we do open on the 15th, we won't have all outside doors open, but we will have the main front doors open. We'll have the doors open at entrance B3, and then we'll also have the doors open at the main entrance of the IDC. So we'll still be able to control the movement throughout the building. We've continued to kind of enhance our sanitizing procedures on campus, and anytime we're not requiring staff to wear masks while they're in their workspaces, like in their offices, but if they go to common areas, and certainly if they're going to be working with students and guests, then we'll ask them to wear masks during that time. So as much as possible, we're trying to phase back into more of a normal routine. We have converted a couple of our big events to online formats. Our Technology for Educators, or what we call T4E. We actually have the highest enrollment ever that we've had in that program, and we've converted it to a completely online format. And then also typically in May, we'll host LeaderCast, which has 200 or 300 participants on campus for that event. We've also converted that to an online format. And so we won't have guests on our campus for those 2 events, but we're still able to sponsor those events. Elaine Zanotti reported this week that many of our chambers of commerce and other community-based organizations are beginning to have meetings in person, and so she is attending those on our behalf. And so again, if you have questions about how we're operating, please let us know. Our 10-month employees' last day of work was last Friday, and we had a Zoom meeting last week and showed our appreciation for them. We do have a few staffing changes, which was listed in the personnel report. We've got a couple of new employees. We've got Kenneth Duke, who is a systems intern working with Matt Trumbull and his crew. And then we also have an intern in the Career Planning Center, and that's Natalie Kinney. We have a couple of employees who've left employment. Joseph Hendricks was an evening custodian, and he made a decision to leave to seek other employment. Chad Beasley, who is also an evening custodian for us, retired this month. And so we're going to miss Chad and Joe and appreciate the work that they did. We had a couple of other resignations. Judy Leonard, who worked over in our safety area in a clerical role, is retiring this year. And then Kim Strom has accepted a position with Oklahoma State University. And so she'll be leaving our employment this month as well. So both of those individuals have contributed greatly to the success of Meridian, and we're going to miss them, but we wish them both well. We have a few positions that are starting to open to replace some of those. I will tell you that as we look at budget, we got our draft allocations from the State Department this weekend. And due to the state budget reductions, we're going to be down about $200,000 in state funding that we know of to start with. I would predict that probably we'll have some revenue failures at the state level throughout the year this coming year. I hope that we don't, but with the tax collections down like they have been, I would anticipate that as a possibility. And so as we look at staffing and replacing staff, we're certainly taking into account that we may or may not receive our full state funding next year as we anticipated. Locally, we're going to end our year with healthy carry forward balances. We had gotten approved through the State Department of Career Tech that we wouldn't be penalized for excess carryover. And so Shalene has done some projections, and it looks like in our general fund, we'll carry over about $100,000 more than what we typically would, which will be a nice start and help with some of that anticipated shortfall. And then our building fund is pretty much in line with where we thought it would be in terms of the construction that we have on an ongoing basis and what we have allocated for those projects. And so budget-wise, we're looking good, but we're anticipating maybe a tough year in the coming year or two. From a construction standpoint, both projects are moving forward. They were drilling piers at the South Division campus last Thursday when I went over there. So that means they pretty much have the retaining wall completed. And so once they get the finished drilling the piers, then we'll start seeing a lot more progress over there. The STEM edition here on campus is going well. We did run into a challenge with some of the, I'll call it the block veneer that we have on part of the outside of the building. The product that was spec'd is not the product that was delivered. And so we have rejected that. And so we're looking for an alternative for that. We're hoping it won't delay our ability to occupy the facility. And we're seeking guidance from the city to see if that's the only thing that we lack, whether we could go ahead and get a temporary occupancy certificate when we get to that point, if we haven't found the appropriate solution to that. But otherwise, everything is moving forward. I think we still have 4 or 5 weeks of construction left, but it's looking good. It's going to be a facility we can be very, very proud of once we get it done. We've had questions asked about what next year looks like in terms of starting the school year. And what we're saying is that we're planning at this point to, Shalene, I think Randy's ready to be let in. We're planning to start the school year as normal with in-person classes as we normally would. That said, we're also having a couple of contingency plans available. One is what it would look like if we weren't able to bring students back on campus. Let's say we had a respike in number of cases and we went back to the prohibiting students from being on campus, what that would look like from an online environment. The other is, I'm not sure if you've seen any of the CDC guidelines for opening schools, but particularly when it comes to student transportation. And that could be an issue for us in terms of bus capacities. And so we're looking at a plan that could involve maybe not all students being on campus at the same time, that we would alternate students on a Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday schedule for in-person classes, with the other days of the week being more online or virtual. And so we don't know what that's going to look like. Our hope is we're going to be able to open school in August like we would in a normal school year, but we certainly want to be prepared if for some reason that doesn't happen. And then I think the only other thing I would say is we have received some CARES Act money to pass through to students. And we sent out this week our first round of those checks. And I think we've dispersed at this point about $36,000 to students who've applied for that CARES Act money. And that is available to anybody, any of our adult students who were enrolled in a full-time program as of March 11th, and they were in good standing. And so there's an application on our website. If a student qualifies, they can fill out the application and apply for the CARES Act money. Now, I think we've done a really good job through Ashley in our financial aid office, and also Dana and her crew through social media, making our students aware that that's available to them. But certainly if you get any questions about whether or not Meridian has had CARES Act money available to their adult students, we have, and we're trying to get that dispersed as we can. We will also have a certain amount of money that was allocated through the CARES Act to Meridian for our use. And you may have noticed on the encumbrance ledger this month, there were some of the descriptions that would, I think it said COVID-19 on it. And those are expenses that we're attributing to the pandemic that we can then use that CARES Act money for. And so you'll start to see that. I guess the one other thing I would say is the encumbrance ledger for the building fund was pretty full this month. We did do our annual equipment requests. We had $1 million budgeted to purchase program equipment, and we had about $1 million worth of requests for that on program updates in terms of equipment. And that includes large pieces of equipment like for machine tool, as well as some technology uses that we have. We did receive a lottery fund grant through the State Department of Career Tech for a large piece of equipment in our metal fabrication program. It was $106,000. And so we will get money to help offset the cost of that piece of equipment. So, Mr. President, that is all I have on my list to give as reports, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Do we have any questions from the board? I'm glad to see us getting some of that CARES Act money out to people that need that, and appreciate you guys staying on top of that and your personnel that handle that to help us distribute that. So.
It's my understanding that the large piece of equipment is a metal shear. Is that?
That is correct.
That'll be used a lot in the welding program.
Yes, it will.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll move on to item number 5, which is the consent agenda. And we have several items on the consent agenda tonight. All the way through R, and we will normally address this in one vote unless there's particular questions on the consent agenda. So what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, if there's no other questions, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Shalina, would you call the roll on that?
Kellogg,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Jansen,
Yes.
Honeycutt. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Johnson.
Yes. That motion does carry with all votes being yes. Item 6 is under action to be considered. And item A is discussion and vote to approve or disapprove a preliminary budget for fiscal year 2021. And Dr. Major, would you like to brief us on this?
I would, or maybe I should ask Shalina to brief us on this since she's the one that created it. So Shalina, do you want to talk about the budget?
I will. So the preliminary budget is just going to allow us to start spending money on July 1st. Last month, you guys approved our temporary allocations, right? Temporary allocations, yeah. Sometimes those words don't sound right. But you approved that, which is 90% of our current budget. And so we just have categorized that and put it into a budget so we can start spending it in July.
Yeah. And the major change on this year's budget compared to last is you'll notice that we increased the building trades house line item. Our construction trades instructors have recommended that we go back to building a house as a part of their project. And so we needed to include that in the budget. And we'll talk about that in just a minute when we talk about the house plans.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shalina and Dr. Major. I would entertain a motion on item 6A.
I have a question before we do that. Is this budget going to allow us to do everything in our mission statement for the benefit of students?
That is our goal. That is why we have the budget that we have.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the preliminary budget as presented for FY21.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 6A on the agenda. Shalina, would you help us with the roll call on that?
Kellogg,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Jansen,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, that item does carry with all votes being yes. Next item on the agenda is item 6B. And this is the time of year that we do election of officers. And we reorganize the Meridian Technology Center Board of Education. So let's move forward with that.
Okay, and if the board chooses to follow the rotation that we have in the past, that would mean that next year Sherry Honeycutt would be president, Lori Jansen would be vice president, Joe Williams would be clerk, Randy Kellogg would be deputy clerk, and Gary, you would move to member of the board. We don't have to keep the same rotation. That's certainly up to you all. That's something we've just done in the past. So it's your pleasure, however you want to do that.
What is the pleasure of the board?
I think it sounds just fine. So I move that we accept the slate of officers or board members as presented on item 6B.
I will second that.
Great. We do have a motion and a second to approve the slate of officers as presented. And that would be Sherry being president, Lori being vice president, Joe Williams being clerk, and Randy being deputy clerk. Any discussion? Hearing none. Shalina, would you help us with the roll call on that motion?
Kellogg,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Jansen,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, and that motion does carry, all votes being yes. Congratulations, it's your turn here in just a little bit. So we're glad to have all of you on the board, and it's been my pleasure to serve as chairman the last year. And I'm proud to serve with all of you. Next item on the agenda is 6C, discussion and vote to approve or disapprove a house plan for the building trade programs to build on Lot 5, Block 2 of Eagle Summit Edition. Address 3109 Eagle Summit Drive. Dr. Major, and I think Matt, no, I guess Dr. Major was going to brief us on that.
Yes, this is an agenda item we haven't had on the agenda for several years. We've not built a house, or the construction trades programs haven't built a house in several years. They've done in-classroom projects like a tiny home. They've done some decorative brick block things in the lab. But the instructors got together and decided that they want to go back to this method of instruction for students. And so we do have 4 lots still over in the Eagle Summit Edition. And so they are proposing that we start a 2-year project of building a house that will fit the mold or fit the types of houses in that edition. I think we've built 3 previous houses in that edition and they've sold very well. And so the process typically is Mr. Bowles, being the lead of the project, will get with the other instructors and they'll look at house plans that they feel like are the size and scale that we can complete, but also will fit in with the other types of houses in that neighborhood. And then they present 3 for us to look at, and they typically will have one that they've recommended. And so the one that they are recommending is the house plan that you saw, that is the 444 Glendale. It's a 1,965 square foot home. It's got 4 bedrooms with 2 full baths. It seems to fit the lot very nicely. And then they felt like it had the features that would both provide a challenge to the students, but also be very constructible for them. And so they are asking your approval for them to move forward with that house plan 544 Glendale is what I'm going to call it, to begin construction in August. If you approve it, then we will go ahead and get the survey done on the lot. That actually will start before the students come, and we'll get some preliminary earthwork done so that we'll be up and running when the students are ready to start working at the site. So, but that is their recommendation and we support that recommendation.
Okay, very good. What is are there any questions or discussion on this item?
Just to comment, I'm very pleased to see the building trade group go back and start these construction projects. It's excellent for the students and it's excellent for the visibility of Meridian Technology Center. Having said that, I move that we approve item, I've already turned the page here.
6C.
6, thank you. I was 1 page off on the agenda. I move that we approve item 6C, approve the house plan for carpenter program to build on Lot 5, Block 2 of the Eagle Summit Edition.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 6C. Shalina, would you call the roll?
Kellogg,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Jansen,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. That item does carry with all votes being yes. Item 7 on the agenda is a proposed executive session. And I don't believe we have anything for executive session, Dr. Major.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so that involves 7, 8, and 9. So we will not go into executive session. So we'll move on to item 10 on the agenda. And that is a motion, consideration, vote to approve or disapprove short-term adult instructors for 2019-2020 as listed on attachment B.
Can we do all 3 of those, 10, 11, and 12?
We can do that if that's the pleasure of the board. To all 3 of them.
I would move that we accept items on the agenda 10, 11, and 12.
Second.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
Yes.
We do have a second. So we have a motion and a second to approve item 10, 11, and 12 as listed on the agenda. And Shalina, would you help us with the roll on that?
Kellogg,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Jansen,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Okay, that motion does carry with all votes being yes, approving item 10, 11, and 12. Item 13 is announcements. Do we have any announcements?
I do have a couple. Want to wish Lori a happy birthday. I guess as of today, a belated birthday. Her birthday was this week, so happy birthday, Lori. And also, I believe our next meeting is scheduled for June 25th, and our hope is that that will be an in-person meeting. We certainly can still continue to offer the Zoom meetings if that's more your comfort level. And so if sometime between now and I guess maybe 3 or 4 days before the 25th, and maybe Shalina will kind of do an informal survey of the board to find out at that point whether you're comfortable coming back to campus for meetings. I certainly think that Zoom has been a good format for us to get through the business that we need to, but I miss the opportunity to see you all in person as well. And so would like for us to be able to get back to face-to-face meetings when everyone's comfortable with that. So, and Mr. Johnson, thank you for your leadership as president, and we appreciate your ongoing service to Meridian Technology Center, and you've done a great job this last year.
It's just my privilege to be a part of a very excellent and professional organization. And if it wasn't for our professional staff, we wouldn't look very good. And you have a job helping us look good for sure. So thank you, Dr. Major, for that. And I look forward to a great year ahead, and congratulations to the new officers. If there's not any other items before the board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
President, I move to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Shalina, would you help us with the roll call on that?
Kellogg,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Jansen,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, we do have a vote of 5 to adjourn the meeting. So thanks for being here tonight, and I look forward to next month's meeting.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.